reports that tell you how well students are doing against those goals. It's a really nice feature. A lot of times it's overlooked until you've been in the system a while and you have time to work on goals. In the States, it's a big deal. So that's your tools. I have the administrative, because I am an administrator on your site, and then the sign out. Please remember to sign out. Don't just close the browser. Sign out. It kind of puts everything back in place and closes all of the open areas that you've been into. It'll help your software run. Just 1 minute. I'm going to move the dog. I'm so sorry. I forget about the lawmen until they actually show up. All right. So we've gone through institution. It's your default entry page, and this is where your vetting takes place. You can show things to different audiences. This one would only show to students. Faculty might have something also for everyone. Your profile where you set up your notifications might be the most important thing, I think, because teachers really get aggravated. All the notifications that can come through. The activity stream, your notifications, anything that's happening in your courses. Another favorite default page. Courses, any course you're currently enrolled in as the instructor or student. Same thing with organizations. Calendar, this is the only place you will see all 3 calendars. You'll see the institution calendar, your personal calendar, and course calendars. So they will all produce on one calendar. If you want, you can turn any one off by using that gear in the calendar settings. You can turn any calendar off and on. It's still there. You just don't have to look at it. Messages are a really nice place to keep track of what's happening in classes and sending out messages. We'll look at those a little bit more in detail. Grades, if you're the instructor, it shows the course items. Tools, non-course specific tools, things that work outside of an individual class, and logging out. All right, now let's talk about courses. All right, what your course may look like. Let me bring up here's a typical course. Right, you've got the course menu over here. Below it, you'll see the class management area. You have content in the center of the screen. Up here, there'll be a breadcrumb trail, which shows you where you are in the class. There'll be a student preview button and edit button. Okay. Let's take a look at that as I click on one of my courses. I will click on the empty course. I'm going to get rid of this. Remember, I sorted looking for this 01. So I'm going to empty it. I'm going to pull up my sandbox course, which is an empty course, nothing in it. All right, you come into this area. This is called module page. These modules are predefined by Blackboard, and you can add them or delete them from your course page. All right? My announcements, my tasks, what's new, and to do. These are all student modules. The to do shows them what's past due, what's due today, tomorrow, next week, and in the future. This will never populate for the instructor. You don't have assignments, so it will not show anything here. What's new? What's happened since you last logged in? A list of tasks if you're making up a task list, and the announcements. Now here you're only going to see announcements particular to this class. So unless the admin overrides it and puts one out here. But you won't see them from your other courses. Just this. Right? And this is by default the home page. The information page usually contains teacher information, maybe your syllabus, maybe some Blackboard information, standard stuff. The content is where you're going to start adding course content. All right? Discussions, groups, these are links to areas inside of the course. If you are putting students in groups to do group work, they would click here and see the group they're currently enrolled with. Tools, what tools do you want to make available to students? So a list of tools show up here. You can hide them or show them. Right? The help automatically takes students to a help area. So it looks at what version of Blackboard you're using and takes you out here to Blackboard Help for Students. So it's important that you know that and let them know they can come right here and get all kinds of help. Anything they type in at this point will be answered in a student view. When I go to assignments, it says Learn Student underneath it. So it's going to talk to the student, not the instructor. Right? Learn Student. So it's answering the questions to the student, not to the instructor. The instructor help is down here. So when they click on help, it's Blackboard Help for Instructors. Right? So keep that in mind. This top section is just the menu for the course for students. If there's an empty box, it means the student will not see it. There's nothing there. If it's turned off to students, like hide the link, it will have a box with a line through it, being not available to students. Right? So you can hide things, you can delete things. Suppose you're not going to do any group work, you can select that and you can delete it. Now anything you delete from this menu is going to take 3 deletes, because if you've set up all this content, they want you to make sure you really want to delete. Okay? So if I want to get rid of the groups, I'm not using groups, I can delete it once. It opens up. Yes, delete it. Notice it gives you the option just so it's still there, but students will. I really want this. That's my second, and then my third. So it really makes sure you want to delete that group so you can pull it out. Now let's look at how to control content. We look at content in a couple of different ways. Right? Maybe you want to do chronologically, week 1, week 2. Let's pull up, there's a slide here that's really nice for, here we go. You can do week 1, week 2, week 3. This is really, really popular with higher ed institutions to keep students on track. Everything that you would need to do for week 1 is going to be in that folder. The second option is maybe putting them in top format. So solar energy, wind energy, biofuels. Or maybe I want all my lectures in a folder. This is by file type, all my readings, all my assignments, all my assessments, okay? So we have chronological, by subject, and by content type. Think about your course and how it would fit into any of these, all right? So chronological, each week contains everything, the readings, the assignments, the lecture notes, discussion forums, whatever. By subject, each content area contains the lecture material, reading, and the specific subject, along with any assignments, discussions, or tests. So the first two are very similar, right? The third one is different. It's content similar. All my discussions are in one folder. All my assignments are in one folder. It means the students are going to jump around a little bit more. So think about what best way to divide the course into manageable segments for you. What does your course lead more to? Okay. You want to have this pattern set up through the whole course. You don't want to pick 1 week this way, 1 week this way. You want it to flow. The biggest thing I can say to you is be consistent. Whatever you develop, be consistent all the way through the course. All right, so let's take a look. I'm going to create content for the chronological. All right, so when I come in here, let's do the information first. Typical in information to build your syllabus. Now somebody's attached the syllabus here. That's probably me the last time. We just delete it and we'll do it from scratch. To build content when you roll over it gives you a lot of options here. I basically use these two for bringing in information, and the content folder and the learning module for containers. Right? So if I'm going to start off with week 1, I can either create week 1 here or in here. Now I like a very short menu out here, so I have a tendency in my content area work with folders or learning modules. The difference between the two we'll look at in a minute. So I'm going to start with a content folder, and I'll call it week. Usually I put something on the folder like all materials needed to complete this lesson can be found in this folder. All right. So they know they don't have to go anywhere else. I'll have links to the discussions, links to anything that's in there. It will all be inside of you. Now we know the 5 components of a lesson include the introduction or overview. It's something we do face-to-face without even thinking about. Tying that content into what we did yesterday, what we're going to do today. I'm going to open this folder, and I'm going to look at adding items to this folder. I'm going to build some contents, and I have these 2 items. If I have audio, image, video, or web link, I usually use the item because then I can write something about it. Here it's just a link. How many times in a book do you see an image without a caption? So I want my class to make sense, so I use item a lot. So here I'm going to add just a placeholder. So for introduction overview. I've typed it enough times. Okay, so here they're going to add, so I tell teachers, add your intro here. I'm just making a template. I'll submit that. scroll down a little bit, and you can see that you can add an attachment anytime you want. I usually add my attachments up here using the paperclip because, again, it will put it where I want it in the paragraph. If you use the one here, it puts it at the very top or the very bottom of the paragraph. Standard options, do you want students to see it? Now, I almost always click yes, and if it's in a certain time period, I'll set it up here. If you put no, you will have to come back and touch this at some point to make it visible to students. Again, if I put yes, I can display after a certain date. So even though it says yes, they won't see it until this date. So if you want things to open up at the beginning of a week, you can set that all up time. A lot of instructors that are teaching the college level will let the content all be open, maybe hold the discussions back for the assignments, so we keep students working and discussing materials at the same time. I want my discussions to be current with whatever topics I'm talking about, so I would hide my discussions that work for the current week. But I let them read ahead and see what's coming up. It doesn't bother me. Some people do. They just want the information to open up at one time. So if I put yes here, I can do this. I don't have to. I can also do a time on the folder itself. Right? I'm going to put submit. I have the first item. Right? Second item will be the objectives for the lesson. If you put a lesson objective in front of them at the beginning of the lesson, they are so much more likely to get it. I know we put them in our syllabus, but how many times are students going to read that syllabus? So I'm going to put my lesson objective right in front of them at the beginning of every single lesson. All the studies that have been done on objectives and student success show that the closer the objective is to the point where they're going to get that objective, the higher the success rate. So I'm going to put my objectives right here. So this lesson may have 3 objectives, and I'm going to put them right there in front of them. So now when I come to the reading part, the materials part, they know what they're looking for, right? So the next part is teaching materials, and it may be a folder, maybe multiple things, or just items listed one right on. You decide what helps, what works for you. But this is the teaching materials. I'm just holding a place for this because I want teachers to understand the sequence that I'm working in, right? So I have teaching materials. This could be the PowerPoints, readings, video. Let's go to the next line. Videos. Videos, web links, anything that's going to display the information that you're trying to teach them. Okay. And again, by default, we've got it available to students. Right, now we have some kind of student activities. In Blackboard, we look at activities as big discussions, blogs, wikis, journals, quizzes, anything that the student is going to enter. So I'm going to call it student activities. These could be assignments, sessions, journal entries, assignments, discussions, journals, wikis. You get the idea. Anything that the student is going to interact with. And then the last, some kind of assessment. Now the assessments would come here. We're just going to leave a holding spot for them in my template. I'm going to leave a spot for assessments. I'm typing with a cast on my hand, so I'm really bad at typing. And I'm worse with a cast on. So. All right, so now I have this template that I'm going to use for every single lesson. All right. It's in a folder structure, so the items are listed one right after another. I mentioned a container. All right, so when I look at content, I can go here, or back up here for the breadcrumb trail, back to content. And it contains items, and it looks like a folder. It opens it, and it gives you a list of these activities. Some of these could be pages long, right? The other option, I'll go back to content, is a learning module. So if I pick the learning module, I can put the same items. I'll call this one week 2. Just label it learning module so you can see the difference. And I'll do week 1, I'll edit it and say folder. So you'll know the two difference. Now I want to put the same things. We've got different icons for them, right? This looks like a tabbed notebook. So I'm going to take the items and duplicate them down here. I can only duplicate one at a time, but it's still going to be quicker than me typing. So I'm going to open this folder, select the item, and say copy it. I could move it, but I'm going to copy it because I want it to stay in the original, and I also want it to go in the new one. I'm going to put it in week 2 and submit. I'm taking each one of these items and copying it. And while I'm doing this, I'm mentioning a few other things. We want to make sure our students are using Chrome or Firefox as the browser. If you use, move, and I don't want it to move, so I'm going to cancel that. Can't talk and move. All right, now I'm going to put this one in the wrong place so we can do the move. I'm just going to put this in content, copy, browse, and I'm going to just put my content. All right, when I go back to content now, I see my two folders. One's a folder, one's the learning module. Put the assessment in the wrong place. So instead of deleting it and going back in, I can move it to that location. These couple copy and move will save you a lot of time. There's a couple things you can move. Why didn't we go? There we go. All right, so now the learning module. Notice content here. We have a table of content. When we look at it from the student preview, they're going to see one item at a time. Okay. Up here, student preview. This little, I call it a dragon eye. I don't know why I started that, but I'm going to click on that, enter student preview. Up here, make unavailable course. Over here, edit mode. If for for some reason that gets clicked off, you don't have any icons, you don't have any drop downs, first place to check is here. Am I in the off mode or am I in student preview? When I click on the student preview, I am going to see it exactly as students see it. The menu changes drastically. Anything that didn't have anything inside of it doesn't show. All right? Anything that I put do not show, like the information had do not show, won't show. So it enters into the home page. Click on content. And I see the two folders. Now again, we're in the student preview, this orange awful color up here, that you know that you're in student preview. Notice when I roll over things, I do not get the chevrons to edit. I'm seeing exactly what students see. So when I go into the folder view, things are listed one right after another. Right? And some of this can go on for pages. I can go back to my content, and I'll look at the learning module. And what happens is they just see one item at a time. They can click on any item they want, and they see it. They can go forward and back using the page over here, pages here, or just clicking here. This sometimes is a better view for students that get overwhelmed easily. Some of our students need one thing at a time, not a list. I'll never get through it. You know, just a little bit. You can always crunch the menu over to give yourself more room. I can't even tell you how many times I've gotten a call, Blackboard's broken, I lost my menu. So you want to point this out in your syllabus or in that first day. You can collapse menus. You can collapse them up, down, and inside out, you know. It's a common error. Depending on what software you use, you're not familiar with that, or it's all drop-down menus. You want to make sure they know, because they're going to hit it by accident. Right, so the difference between the two, the learning module shows one item at a time, and you scroll through them, or you can pick what activity you want. The content folder shows all items in just a list to scroll down. You decide which one you want. Again, consistency. Whichever one you pick, stay with it. When you delete the student preview, you have an option to delete your information or keep it. I'm going to keep it for right now and show you what happens. Sometimes you'll put on an adaptive release that says you cannot take this assignment until you finish this one. So it's waiting for you to get a grade on something before it opens up. So when you're in the student preview, you might take an assignment and submit it so that you can look at the next item. If you delete that item, then you're stuck. In the grade center, when you go into student preview, it creates you as a preview user. Only students can enter to the grade book. So you, as a preview user, PM Library preview user, okay, is put in here. If you are going to run statistics on your class, just make sure you delete yourself. You know, when I'm done with it, I can delete this, or I can go back in into student view. And when I leave this time, I can delete the data. So when I exit the student preview, I can delete myself. But if I'm checking things out and I want to do it just like students, sometimes they have to take a test to be able to see the next thing. Very common for me to put in there, if you don't exam, you don't get to go to the second. We'll have a conversation and we will work on your grade. So it just depends on how you. All All right, so notice information doesn't have anything in it and it's hidden, okay? So let's go into this and make it show the link. It takes care of that one box. We'll go in here. Information, typically we add a few items, one being the teacher information. They would add their name, whatever else they want the students to know, maybe the office hours, even though they're on the calendar, any other pertinent information, where they got their degree, whatever. How to contact me, that's usually important, whether they're going to set up collaborate sessions or open office hours or whatever. The next thing I would do is attach my syllabus. Any kind of policies and procedures that are going to hold in your class. Many universities have the fair use agreement with the internet and some other things that students have to, or maybe a handbook. So you could add whatever other information you want. I always have a policies and procedures. Usually that information is coming from the institution, as well as if I have something special, I will put it in the syllabus. But so that's my information section. And they also have a Blackboard help information. I put a list of help sites for students that I use all the time in every class. And I usually put it out there in this section. So they have places to start. And I'm not always available. So I want you to be able to go and look at how do you get your grades, or how do I submit an assignment, or what's a discussion board, those kind of things. Typical questions that I've had over the years. I do a Q&A and just set them all up ahead of time. This help is important that you let them know it's there. So my syllabus, I'll also talk about this. All right, so we have some standards here. If we wanted to add things to this menu for students, it's this up here, this little plus sign. I can add a content area. Content area is usually where you display contents. You know, like my content areas are week 1, week 2, and inside of them I have a lot of information. The module page is those modules that show to students on that my announcements, my tasks, what to do, a blank page, tool link. That means I can link to any tool. Suppose I want my messages link out here so they can check the messages. I would go up here in plus and a tool link to a Blackboard tool. Now, messages, and here I would do the drop-down menu to course messages, and I would make it available to the students. Now when you create a new item for the menu, it puts it at the bottom. And maybe I'll put this up here above or below the discussion, because it's another place where they're going to get information. I also like a My Grades out here. So again, it's a tool link. And again, I'm going to select here and go to My Grades. And don't look for grades, it's alphabetical for My Grades. I wish they would just put grades there, but somebody had to put My Grades. And I'll put that right above tools. So again, you can add things here. Let's take a look. Content area, another module page if you want. And some instructors will put another module page out here with the modules they want. So if you wanted to select that module page and just call it instructor page, you can add modules unique to you. I'm not going to make it available to students. In that module page, I would add modules for me. So there's the alerts. I'm going to go Blackboard. So the alerts will tell me if notifications of past due and warning. I'll see my announcements. Needs attention, something needs to be graded. And maybe what's new since I last logged in. So now I've added a module page for just me. I love the alerts. It shows me if anybody didn't hand anything in last night, if something was due, okay? Needs attention, anything that needs grading, my announcements, and what's new since I last logged in, all right? And you can move these around, so maybe I want my announcements first, just so I know what I put out there. I put announcement every week, just kind of summing up what's going to happen this week. I'm going to put needs attention right here. So you can move them around. This is not available to students. And I might put it right up under their home page. What happened to the home page? Oh, it's up there. So I have a home page and I have an instructor page. The students are not going to see that page, but it produces some really important information for me. I can take a quick glance and see if I have anything to grade today, okay? So needs my attention. Look at anybody that didn't hand something in that was due last night. Quick and easy. You decide. Right? So once you've decided what kind of course you want and how you want to set it up, all right, so go in this content area. I chose these two. Now, this is a template for me. Because it's a template, I can just copy the whole thing. And I'm going to put it in my content area and submit. And I can do this 10 times if I have 10 weeks. And I have week 1, week 2, and I can do, edit this, make it a 3, and be ready to go. Once you make a template for yourself, you can hide it from students and just keep one out there. So if I make this unavailable to students, they will not see it, and I've got something I can copy over and over and over again. Notice it's graded. Available item is hidden from students. So again, you can make yourself a template and then use it over and over, because consistency is the key. All right. So when you're planning, you decide what you want this menu to look like. Sometimes content, I'll put course content in it, so I might want to rename it. And I can do course content. Or whatever will key them into this is where they're going to find their lessons. Or you can put week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4 down in your menu. It just is a little bit too long for me. I don't like the long menu. Okay, let's see. So let's talk about content types. All right. I'm going to create another folder here so I'm not messing it up. And I'm just going to call this folder content types. We're going to start pulling in different kinds of content. All right, think about the things that you teach with, okay? Do you use PowerPoints? Do you use videos? Do you use Word documents? Okay. I'm going to open this folder and create just some examples. Suppose I have a document that I want to put in here. All right, I can create content. I build content. These two items are the two I'm going to use the most often. All right. I'm going to use this item for attaching anything. I'm going to use this with PDFs that will allow me to open inside. Right. So let me just take a look at my desktop and see what I've got out there. I put everything in these folders for us. Let's send the content. All right, so here's just 10 best practices for teaching online. I don't know where I got that from, off the web, I'm sure. All right, so I have this, open up the Word document. All right. So I have this document out here. It's a document and I can attach it. It's not going to open in here because it is a document. So if I'm going to build an item here, that it would come in as a Word doc. I can attach it. So I'm going to use this paper clip. It lets me browse from my computer, browse my course contents, and browse my cloud. Remember, when I set up in my profile that link, it's ready now to just pull from there, or I can add a URL. I'm going to browse my computer for right now. So here is my Word document, 10 best practices for teaching online. And I can attach it. Show up here. Okay. Alt text. I'm just going to copy the title and submit. Now the alt tag is so that if someone's using a text reader, it will read it. And if you check your documents, if you have Word documents, you can check them in Word for accessibility. So this is a download. When they click on it, it's going to download. So it downloads. Now, if I'm using my phone, I may not have Word or access to it. Think outside. Any document can be saved as a PDF. So I'm going to look at the same document as a PDF. I'm going to use this file option. Again, 10 best practices or whatever. I'll browse my computer again. And this time I'm going to pick the same document, but only saved as a PDF. Right? Open in a new window. If you want it in a new window, you can. We'll do it both ways. You can align it, again, the standard options, and submit. They look pretty much the same. When I click on this one, however, it's going to open right inside of Blackboard. And I don't need a special program to open it up like I do with a Word. So the students now have access to this document, their cell phones, mobile devices, and they can read the whole document online. So think about whether you want them to be able to edit documents or just read it. If you need to edit it, of course, you would have to leave it in a form that they could edit. PDFs typically don't get edited by students unless they have full Acrobat suite. So this gives you a way to look at it. Now notice it opened inside of Blackboard. Standard options open in a new window would allow it to open in a new tab. So maybe this is a document that they're going to use for something else. Like I'm going to go to an assignment and I want to make reference to this document over and over. The difference would be, I'm going to go back in and edit it. Simply to open it in a new window would allow them another tab in the browser. Now, if I'm doing it just so they can read it, I'm going to leave it inside the software, better for mobile devices. If they need it in a new tab, then it would go outside of Blackboard into the browser. And on the phones, that browser's not so good. All right, so I'm going to click on it this time. It opens a new tab automatically. You decide which way you want it. I usually leave it inside of the course. Inside of the course or outside, they get to download it. So if they really wanted it in another tab, they could still. Right now, this one's opened in a new tab, so they can jump back to the course, read something, go back out here, see if they can find it, whatever. You decide what works best for your class and the purposes of the document that you're sharing with them. PowerPoint's the same thing. You can attach a PowerPoint, they have to download, load it on whatever device they have. But you can also store PowerPoint as a PDF, right? If I'm loading a PDF and I want it to show inside of Blackboard, I'm going to use this file. I'm clicking on File. I'll load the PDF version. Again, I have a presentation in a PDF format. All right. So I also have it as a PowerPoint. I'm going to load the PDF version. And what was it? Did it load? Yep. That's a no again. So anything they attach as a file that's a PDF is going to open it up in this content area. Again, they have those standard options to download it or print it. Move down a little bit, you see the slide. And again, what do you want students to see? Anything that you bring in entirely is editable. So when I'm looking at course content, I can go into any of these and delete what I've added, delete the object altogether. But you have the chevrons that give you different options depending on what type of content it is. Okay, this adaptive release lets you determine if it's going to be released on a certain date, if they have to complete something else. We can make it unavailable. All right. Let's talk about images. An image cannot be copied and pasted like a Word document can be. I'm just going to open that Word document again. Here's a document. It's not open. Where are you? There it is. So I could just copy. Let me just do this. Yeah. Let's just copy the first paragraph. I can do a Control-C here, copy, and I can drop it in a content area. So you can also copy and paste. It'll bring it in. For the text editor, if you haven't looked at the text editor yet, you can expand it, the box, just by pulling that lower right-hand corner. You can make it full screen, and you can see the whole thing. You cannot save in full screen mode. You have to toggle back. The top row is pretty common to editors, right? If you roll over any item, it's going to tell you what it is, so you don't have to memorize these. Common, the bulleted list, the numbered list, color. You have highlight and erase the formatting. But copy and paste, if you're on a Windows, you're going to use Control X for cut, copy, Control-C, paste, Control-V. Now, here we have attachments, images, multimedia in your math editor. We also have mashups. These are partners of ours that seamlessly we can get things from SlideShare, Flickr, or YouTube. If you have Dropbox, you can. Try to stay away from tables. They don't as well for text readers as paragraph text. If you're a coder, you can also bring in your HTML. Pretty simple. Links, if you highlight something, notice the link becomes active and you can drop a link in. So you can click on that and now just drop a link in. But it has, excuse me, you have to have a full https:// full address. You cannot copy and paste a picture. All right, let's look at a document in a lesson, and if you want to bring it in, how to work with it. So again, I'm going to just jump out to my desktop. Where are you? It doesn't want to move. Let's try it again. There we go. Sample content. Here's a short little lesson. And page 4 has a Word document with a picture that I'd like to bring in. There we go. There we go. All right, so here's just a lesson. We talked about copying and pasting this. The picture I can't, but I can select it and save as, and save this as map. I'll copy this one. If I want to bring something in, again, I would be building content. And I can just paste that in. And it comes in very nicely with all of the formatting that was there. The image now, I'm going to use this object here for bringing in image. I saved as map. Content up again. We're slowing down. Says it's processing. Excuse me. All right, let me jump over to Firefox, see if we can do the same thing. Oh, I don't remember my password. Doesn't like that. Yeah. All right, let's see if my browser to work. Still didn't come up here. One second. Oh, it never fails when you want something in a hurry. It's not going to work. Huh. No, it's still not working. Oh, there it goes. Let's say. Here we go. Let's just try it on this one, see if it loads a little bit faster. I like your big, I think that's nice. Then I'm going to stop the recording and start it again, so you only have half of the session. I'm going back into the Sandbox course. Back into the course content. Okay. I'm going to build that again, item. If you only see one line of text the first time you come in, it's condensed. So these two double arrows, I have to mention that, because by default, it'll come into just one line. Back where it was before, I'm going to just pull this down a little bit bigger. I'm going to make this full screen a little bigger so you can see it. I'm going to use the image, pull it in. That was my computer. This is what wasn't coming up, just that screen. And there's the map that I saved. Of tectonics. That. And there you have it. So it brings it in. You can select an item and center it if you want. Then it will center over any screen as opposed to using spaces, which will not identify, evenly on different devices. So submit it. Go and put it. And we'll submit again. Now notice these I have to click on. When I copy and paste it in, it's already open. So depending on how you want things to look, if there's a lot listed, sometimes it's better just to have these and so they can just jump down to the one they want. If you have 15 pages open, there's a lot of scrolling. Again, it's whatever you like, whatever you're accustomed to. They have all these options because everybody likes something different. I haven't worked with 2 clients that like the same thing ever. I'm going to take a minute here and just turn off the recording and start another one. All right, this will give you 2 recordings. And you won't have to scroll through an hour and a half to get to the second hour and a half. You can jump to the second recording. All right, we're on the second recording. All right, so we looked at a lot of different ways to bring in text, bring in media. Let's take a look at if we were going to do multimedia. All right, so if I want to build video or something, I'm going to use my item. I'm not going to use this because it will bring in, but I won't be able to give any instructions. So I have a video that I want them to watch, then let me build an item. Media. And there's 2 options. You might have one on your computer. You might want to link to one. Okay, so if I have a video on my screen, something like this, put my cursor where I want that video to come in. So the cursor's down here. Then I'm going to select the multimedia tab. And this is when I have it on my computer. I'm going to go out and grab this submarine animation. Now, if you have a WAV file or you have an MPG, you want to bring it up to the MP4 standard. This was, I think, an MPG, and I just updated it, and I'll show you how to do that. So it brings it in. You have some options here. You can make it auto start. You can do some other things. We're going to bring it in. All right. Notice you don't see it here. Submit. It's going to embed it right here for me. So I click the start. It brings that video in and shows that little submarine. The other option is linking to a video, like a YouTube video. So we can go here, again, build an item. YouTube gives you a couple of options in the format that you want to bring it in. So here's your option. That's multimedia. That's not what I wanted, sorry. I want the matchups here for YouTube. And then you can search for something. Well, let's do plastic recycling. That's what I did with the other one. Plastic recycling. And I'm going to stay with English. And then it will show you how long they are, how many viewers have viewed them sometimes. I'm going to look at this one, and if it comes up, this is a real short one, 2 minutes and 42 seconds. So I'm going to select this one. Now it gives you all of the information for that, so you can cite it correctly. You can bring it in as a thumbnail, just a small one. You can do a text link to a player, or you can embed it. So I do usually embed or thumbnail. I'll do the thumbnail first. Show the YouTube URL. If I want them to be able to go out there, I'll say yes. Otherwise, no. But I do want them to see the information and know that it's not mine. I can preview it. See if that's what I want. So that's the one I want. I can submit. So it brings it in, small. I can write directions on here, whatever I want the students to do, blah, blah, blah. Watch it. I need a name. Okay, YouTube. And this is thumbnail. All right, and I will submit it. Now the difference between thumbnail and embedded, the thumbnail, when you click on it, is going to put it on top in a decent size, and then you're going to play it. If I do embed, same thing, it's going to make it bigger. There we go. Pick the same one and make it real quick. I did the same thing again. It was multimedia rather than mashups. Pick the same one. This option here, I'm going to change to embed. I see it embedded. Looks the same. The difference between the two, okay? This one is going to pop out when you do the thumbnail. And this one, you're going to just watch it's embedded. Okay? Your choice, whatever you feel looks better for you. All right. Now, if some of these items here need to be reordered, remember, you can select, you can reorder anything. Maybe I want this one on top. I can move it up here. If you're not good with the mouse, you can use this option over here. And you can pick whatever one you want and move it up or down. So items have been reordered. You decide. You know, sometimes I want to mix something in So when I create it, it always goes to the bottom of the list, and then I can move them around. Another option that I found, and I caught this from other teachers, when you create your course, you can make certain modules unavailable to students. So you could put like 2 on top of 1. Let me just move this one down. Doesn't want to move. Why? It doesn't want to move right now. Let me just refresh. Go back into course content. There we go. Sometimes it just doesn't. So I'm going to put it in reverse order. I'll move up. All right. And make these unavailable. So I'll make this one unavailable. Make, oh, it's hidden already. This one. All right, so I have these things available. Say this is my information page or something. When the students look at it, they're only going to see the content types in week 1 when they go into the course. Once they finish with week 1, I could then make week 2 available. Right, so they go through this, exit, continue. I can now make week 2 available. It becomes the top item and then the top item. So if you literally build it backwards and turn the things off you don't want, they won't have to scroll through 14 weeks of content to get to week 15. It'll be the top one. Just an idea. Different things, work different way. But let's take a look at Collaborate. Right. You're going to find Collaborate in your course tools here. Under Blackboard Collaborate. And I'm going to use the PowerPoint for this because I can go through it and show some slides where I can't show you as I'm actually So when you're online, most of this stuff is going to be asynchronous, where students do things on their own. You give them deadlines to have things done by, but everybody's not doing it at the same time. That's why you go back and look at discussion, see who's posted and who hasn't, that kind of thing. When you're using Collaborate, it's synchronous. It's the same time for everybody. You can do a live recording like we're doing now with your students. You can also use Collaborate for office hours. So if you want to talk with a student that's having issues, I just set up a Collaborate session with it. When I assign assignments and things like that at the beginning, I always give them a couple of tries to get things right. And if they don't do it in a couple of tries, then I really try to work with them individually. But you can use Collaborate for meetings, webinars, just your open discussions, lectures, office hours, demonstrations. I have an art teacher who is teaching online, and she will actually film herself on her pottery reel and show the students how to move their hands and stuff. She records it all, and those are her lessons, because you really need to see it, I guess, to get the best out of it. So office hours is pretty common, and we do a lot of lecturing online. So if it's a topic that's really kind of difficult, we might do that online lecture, adding our components, and then let the students go back and review it over and over. So when you have difficult content to cover, it's nice to have those recordings and take a look at what's happening. Okay. So you're using Collaborate Ultra. It's going to allow you to do sessions anytime you want, depending on the students. If they're in different time zones, you can set up different sessions for different students. So when we access it through the tools, okay, and it's going to be Blackboard Collaborate Ultra. Now, once you choose that in your course, now it's going fast because it wouldn't move before. So let's see if we can get this to slow down. There we go. You have a course room that automatically goes with the course that you're currently in, and then you can create sessions for that. So they can click on the room and it opens up, okay? Or you can create sessions. When you look at it, you can look at the recordings. There'll be a couple of dots you can look at. So there's a session available for my office hours, and then there's a session here for test prep. So if it's in progress, taking place right now, you can see in progress. When a student clicks on it, they'll just be brought into that open room. If you click on Create Session, it allows you to create another section. If you click on the classroom, it's open and launch a session immediately. You don't have to set up ahead of time. You can just tell a student to click on their course room and we'll talk for a few minutes. Right. Now the opening screen, right, looks something like this. You have this tab over here that you're going to open, and you may have different things across the bottom depending on what the instructors has left for you to use. Okay. So when you're signing in, you want to test your audio and your video if it's available. In the one we're in, it's not available because we have too many people in some of these sessions to actually be able to answer. And if everybody used their camera, we would get nowhere. Okay, so sometimes we don't have those available. Typically, you have the raise hand available, which lets the instructor know that you have a question, and then when it's convenient, we'll stop and answer it. Okay? But you have those symbols. You want them to become available, and you want to test your audio if you're going to talk with students ahead of time. So we have this tab over here, and we also have a tab up here. This is where you can start the recording. They have also added a start recording over here in the right hand, and it kind of sticks out, so many of us would forget to start the recording because this is just a little tab up here and you don't see start recording. And it gives you some other options here. When you open that up, you have start recording, use your phone for audio, report an issue, tell me about Collaborate. This is a nice help area. Another nice help area if you've never used it and want to just practice. Okay. You also have a chat area. once you open the tab on the right-hand side, you have, this is crazy, you have the chat bubble. And when you chat, you can chat privately if the teacher allows. Usually I don't allow private chats. It's everyone or just the professor. The next one is participants. I think I have it. If you add your image, and when you get to the gear place here, you can add your image. It's kind of to see who's on instead of just the head or your initials. You have a moderator here, you have a presenter, and you have participants. Usually your students are participants, but you can take any participant and make them a presenter or a moderator where they can share content. So sometimes when we're doing our projects or somebody wants to show what they got done, you just change their role by selecting the little circle with the dots next to them and making them a presenter. And you can move them back. Okay. The chat. The chat, when you're in the chat, you can use the icons over here or say something. I do a lot of, every 10, 15 minutes with my class, I'll say, okay, give me a thumbs up if you're okay. Or maybe I'll just shoot out a poll and have them respond, see if they're getting something. Multiple choice questions. Did you understand what I was doing? I love to do knowledge checks that keeps them on their toes, that I'm going to see who's paying attention. And it's sometimes listening to someone talk for an hour. And you've got 3 hours. Oof, bless you. So, again, you want to be able to use these. There's some cute ones in here. And it's just a way of getting them to respond where they're at, if they're understanding, a quick and easy way, right? Here's your hand raise. Now, when you raise your hand in the participant area, it will move you to the top with the little purple hand up. And then the instructor can respond to you and close your, put your hand down. And sometimes, it's a nice thing to have when you're in a small group and you just want to start talking and sharing. So this is what the panel looks like when you're sharing content from the instructor standpoint, right? You have share content. You can share the whiteboard. You can share an application screen, which is what I'm doing. I'm sharing my whole screen so I can change between the PDF back to your site, to the web browser, back to if I wanted to show an Excel spreadsheet or anything else. Anything that shows on this particular screen, and I have 3 screens in front of me, you will see. All right. You can use your camera. You also have the camera at the bottom of your screen, but if you're in the share, you can do it from here. You can share files, so I can load some files and present those files during class. Went back. Polling, this is where you can make a multiple choice question or a poll, where you choose whatever option you like. Or you can do breakout. Right. So the student can see this but can't access it. You have to be a moderator to be able to share these different things. Here's your whiteboard. It has some tools, and I've seen them working on the whiteboard. If all goes well, the new version is going to be quite a bit nicer than this. This one probably hasn't been changed in 20 years. So, but you can put something out here. Like if I'm getting ready for a class, I might put a question out here and they can all type their answers in. Or if it's a first time on an international class, I'll put a map of the world out there and just ask them to type their name, where they were born or where they're living or whatever. It's jumping around here. Let's see if I can put one side of the whiteboard. You can load any application. So again, I keep mine open so I could just click on this to demonstrate something inside of the Excel. I'm sharing a screen rather than an application. But you can share an application, but when you close the application and share your screen, you have to close it. This little square up here is close sharing. So I know this far left screen, anything I put on it, you're going to see, because I actually do share the screen and not just an application. But this is great for when you're working on something. You can pull that application right in. You can pull a website in. If you pull a website in, when you go to share, let me see, find the share folder. So when I go to share application, it doesn't show you there. There's a click share audio. And if I want this site to play something, I want to make sure I include the sound from the web. There's a little checkbox that says share audio. So you can also demonstrate. You can conduct a lab where they can't come in and do one. You can present the lab. You can set up multiple cameras and choose which camera you want to show and change them. That's what this art teacher that I was working with last week does. She, depending on what station she's working on, she just turns on whichever camera it is. Right? So again, this is a PowerPoint that they loaded the PowerPoint into the session, and when they're ready, they can just share that point. You can stop recording when you're finished. And sometimes I'll stop recording and let them just talk at the end with open questions. Some people just don't like to be recorded. Typically, I like the questions recorded because some of them are really good. And then I'll turn it off for the very last 5 minutes, just in case someone doesn't want to. Here's your 3 bars. And these are usually means another menu. Click on and open. So in Blackboard, you can look at your recordings. You can take attendance and look at who is out there. So you can make these recordings available to students, or you can just save the URL and put them in another spot in your course. Right? Assignments. Let's take a look at assignments in the course. So assignments come under assessments. So when you're creating an assignment in the course, it's an interactive component with students. So again, you can type anything in for instructions. Remember to be really clear in your instructions, because in class you fluctuate, you repeat yourself. Online, this is it. This is all they have. So when you're giving instructions for an assignment, you want to be very clear. What is it you're expecting from them? In terms of length, in terms of date and time it has to be done, format that it has to be. So when you're given assignments, it's really important. And assignments can be used to increase the student's time on task. You can add alternative assessment techniques. So think not just writing a paper, you can use it for case studies, you can use it for problem-based learning, exercises, essays, research papers, group projects. It really can use some of Bloom's higher order thinking skills, so you can analyze, synthesize, evaluate course content. So again, you're trying to get the students to massage the material, to get what they can out of it. And you want to see that they are relating to the material, that they understand the material. Right? So think more than just an essay, case study, problem-based learning, research papers, group projects, presentation, field observations, maybe lab work. So any of those can be done. The directions become critical. You can add links to it. You can add a video to it. Anything that you can add in a regular text editor, you can add in instructions. So if I wanted to put that video in here, I could add a video. Maybe. Here we go. I could grab that video. Put it in there. And now I could go down to the bottom here, and I could add something about this. Blah, blah, blah. You know, whatever you want. You can attach things. Again, I have a tendency to attach them here. Suppose I had a spreadsheet and I wanted them to finish it. I can attach that spreadsheet. They can download it. Then they can submit it afterwards, right? I use due dates a lot to keep students on track. So suppose this was due at the end of the week next week. So that's this week. Next week. End of day you could do. So you've got midnight at the beginning. Then you have an end of day, which is 11:59. You decide. You can add a rubric. Super for bringing up grades is to show them exactly how you grade. The rubrics are really powerful in Blackboard, right? So if you have a rubric, you can select it, or you can create a new one, and we'll look at that in just a minute. Submission details. Is this an individual assignment or a group assignment? And are you allowing a single attempt, multiple attempts, or unlimited attempts? Now, I have a tendency to allow at least 3 attempts, so I'll do multiple, and I'll put in 3. Think about it. How many of us have sent an email without the attachment? I know I have. They're going to do the same thing. They're going to forget to attach their Word document or the spreadsheet that you were supposed to get. So that takes care of one submission. They come back and, oops, let me do it right away, and they'll submit it a second time. If they need a third time, it's usually I've sent it back and say, just correct this for me. One thing that we've been allowed because of online things is I can look at an assignment more than once now real quickly and give them a better grade. Where before, when I handed it back, I would have to read the whole paper over again to correct it. Now I can hand it back and say, correct paragraph 3. Split it into 2 paragraphs and expand each one of those concepts. And then when I get the paper back, all I have to do is read paragraphs 3 and 4 because I have it in front of me, all right, the old one. So I'm just looking for what I asked them to do. So I have a tendency to do a little more in terms of writing because it's very quick the second time. Once you give more than one attempt, you have to decide how you're going to grade it. Are you going to take the last graded, the highest, the lowest, first, or average them? And my goal is to get the highest I can out. Right, so that's submission details. Grading options allow you to do anonymous grading and delegated grading. Delegated grading allows other people to grade the papers. And then you can look at them and post the final as an instructor. Display grades. How do you want the students to see the grades? The score, the percentage, the letter, complete, incomplete. You decide what you want. Score is the default. Students only see the primary score. You can see both the primary and the secondary score. I'll jump over here, of course, so you can see this. Courses. Let's go to courses. Oh, you have an astronomy course. That's all right. I'll stay where I'm at. Here's a, let's see, astronomy course in the original. So, we'll take a look at the grade book. All right, so here's the plan of paper, and there's the 90 here. So I'm going to look at the assignment plan of paper. And I'll edit it, and I'll look at what we have to display here. So it says display the score and secondary none. Well, I'm going to make secondary percentage or the letter. We'll just do percentage for right now. The student's going to see the score. Let's see what it was at worth. Paper, 100 points. Okay, so the possible was 100. Now, instead of just saying she got 90, you'll see she got 90 and it was a 90%, 90 out of 100. I can do letter grade. I can do whatever I want here. Okay. So, I left my assignment. That's interesting. Back into my grade book. Back into my sandbox course. I left without saving, so now it's saved. Okay. Let's go down. Instructions, video, images, whatever you want. Due date. The next Friday. At the end of the day. Review. Rubrics, submission details, grading options, and display grades. Now the next thing is, when do you want to make this available? Set it up for a particular week that you want to display it, and make sure if you have a due date, in there, that it's included in that time span. Like if you give students 3 days to get it in and it's 10% per day or whatever, then you would leave it open 3 days afterwards. So they can still, you can track the number of views, how many students are going in and out of this area, isn't it? Value must be placed. 10 points was 100 points, whatever. All right, I'm going to go over to a class that we content in. Let's see. We just see if we have the rubric in here. We may not. I do want to show you and how it affects grades. If you any study place, you're going to difference between students who get the rubric and who don't. So I'm going to look at assignment. And I'm going to look at planet paper. So if I add a rubric, and select a rubric, that would mean it would be added to the course already. There aren't many. Okay. So I do have a rubric that I could share with this course. Really nice if you have rubrics, you can share them. In my course, on my server, I did have a rubric. So I'm going to go down here, tools. Now, some schools are really good about creating rubrics. And sharing them. So here's the planet paper. So I'm going to select it and export. Okay. And I will export it to my computer so I can pull it in on another server. Right, so download, let's go download rubric export. I'm going to go over to your server, and to save myself some time for creating one, I'm going to just pull it in. So I'm going to select a rubric. I don't want to select, I want to import. Create from existing. All right, so I'm going to go up here, pull that rubric in so it's available. There's rubrics. Import it. How's my computer? It's going to be my download folder. There it is, rubric export. So I have a rubric. Let's just take a look at it. Okay? So I can go in here and I can look at this rubric. I can edit it or just look at it. So 0 points, 15 points, 20. So a total of 100. Developing of ideas, organization, scientific language. Right now I'm going to connect activity. So I'm going to go into the assignments and the planet paper. I'm going to edit it. Now it has to match the number of points here. Right? We want to make sure it matches. If it doesn't, paper will change. This will change, not the rubric. So I'm going to select a rubric. And now we see the planet papers there. I'm going to select it and attach it. It says click OK to assign the rubric's maximum number of points. We looked and they both are 100, so it shows. Now if you brought the wrong one in, you can delete it. You want to come over here and make sure the students get and submit. So now when the students go take this assignment, and I'm going to click on student preview, you can see that they can see the rubric and work towards that. So here's my assignments. I'm going to go down to the paper. Here's the planet paper. View rubric. And I can have this open in another window while they're working. So this is what the teacher's going to grade and how things are going to be graded. I can just put this on the screen or leave it out here, and it'll help me as I develop my paper. And then we'll show it in the Grade Center in a little bit. All right, now they can type right in. If you're going to type a submission, the right submission. Now there's this comment box. I've had so many students write their paper in here. Write it here, because then you get the full text editor. So if they attach it, I usually have them just put something in the text submission box that says, I'm attaching my document, blah, blah, blah. It gives them one more reminder that they have to browse and pull it in and submit it. Right, so I'm going to cancel this. Exit my student preview. Now, when you look at the Grade Center, you have a number of ways that you can look at those assignments. Okay, we'll get into that in a minute. Okay. Let's see. So in this course, the assignments are grouped in here. Mine, they're grouped with the weeks. So the assignment would be inside of Unit 1, there would be assignments, discussions, and whatnot, instead of having to go out here and back in here and out here and back in here. It's all a matter of your preference, okay? So it doesn't, there isn't a right and a wrong. It's how it works with your content, right? So again, grouped into one content area, flow inside of the course content, or combined approach using course links. So if you have all your discussions in the discussion area, you can link to it too. You decide what works. Right, let me show you the difference in some of them. So in this one, my discussions are out here, maybe not in here. So when I open this, I don't see a discussion. You see the discussion bubbles. Maybe, oops, I did put it in here. Oh, I did this with the last one. Let me just delete it. I'll show you. The discussion here, all of the discussions are listed. There's Unit 1, 2, 3, 4, and they're all listed out here, right? So if I want them to show in the units, I can link to that discussion. Typically what I do is I copy this statement. I'll go out to discussions. I'll go into this first one and copy the instructions. Went too far. I can edit this. And just grab the description. I just copied it. Now when you come into discussions, you're going to see the total number of points, how many are unread, how many are replies to you, and the total number of participants. Right? Let me just show you how we can link to the discussions even if I didn't create them in my unit. I'm opening this one. And now I'm going to build content, but this time it's a course link to someplace in the course. I'm going to click course link. I'm going to get some options. I'm going to browse. And then your discussions are usually in a group all to themselves. So I'm going to scroll down. You see Unit 1, 2, 3, 4. And you see assessments, assignments, then discussions. I want to go to this discussion. Now it's going to open up inside of that. So I'm going to put with this the same comment you would have seen on what the discussion is. It's just a link. Notice there's no points here. There's nothing. It's a link to this discussion. So I can add it in my content area and go through this. And notice I have a link. When I click on it, it takes me to that discussion. Right? Let's see, I think discussions are our next topic, and we can. All right. let's do just a quick note on assignments. One more thing. When you're grading assignments and you click on the activity, it shows you the points possible, what the students are doing, right? Now to grade those assignments, you have a couple options in the Grade Center. Let me close the tools. In the Grade Center, you have needs grading, or you have the full Grade Center where you can find and grade those. So when we get to this, we'll do everything at one time, but we do look at grading the assignments. Discussions, again, they can be graded or not. When you look at a discussion, right, if you go to the discussion board, you'll see all of them. If you link from your units, you'll see the one you want to deal with. Now what's nice, if it's graded, so this one's worth 10 points, and you go into this area, you can see the threads that are developed, or you could display it in a tree view up here. And the tree view lets you read the discussions as they are come out. So if somebody's commenting on somebody else, you have a plus sign to show you that there's some comments here, and they're indented, and they keep going in. Every time someone replies to somebody's reply, it indents more. So you can read, this is how I read them, so the contents is together. When I grade, I like the tree view for reading, so instead of just in the sequence in which they came in, they're in a conversation. It's a little bit easier to keep track. So I read them, you know, on a regular basis. Sometimes I'll get in there and ask them to expand something. If you are not active in discussions, don't expect them to be, all right? You want to encourage them to discuss, encourage them to expand. Make sure when you decide how you want to grade discussions, that they understand that it's to relay a topic and their interest in the topic. You want them to expand on the topic, not just give you what is in the textbook, what other sites they found that would explain what's going on. So it should be something open-ended, not something that's just yes or no. So creating some discussion questions sometimes are a real unique skill. But think about the questions you ask them in class. You know, you keep probing at them to get more information. Sometimes you have to do that inside of a discussion too. When you create a discussion, let's go and create a discussion. I'm going to go down to the tools, the discussion board. It shows the discussions for everyone with your course ID. It shows group discussions. Now in a group discussion, only those members of the group can add to that discussion. I'm going to go to the group discussions for everyone. And here's where I can create a new form. So when I click on that, create form, I have options. I put in the description, what is this? Tell me whatever. Like the first one you do is an icebreaker. I want to make sure I use every tool in Blackboard the first week that I'm going to use in my class for the whole semester. So I've got them through Blackboard, and now I'm just dealing with content. So at the beginning, I ask them some icebreaker. Tell me something about yourself you don't think I know. What major are you? Why did you choose this course? Any of those kind of questions. I'll just type icebreaker. Now you have some different options here when you get into the form. But is it available? I always yes. And for me, I'm displayed over a week period. If it's a discussion I want them to be able to reread, I will make them all readers at the end of the week so they don't keep commenting. I want a discussion to stop at the end of the week and move on to the next discussion. Okay? So again, you have control over that here. We have some different views. We have the standard view where they just see whoever's posted. I really like the participants must create their own thread before they can read anybody else's. So you have to answer the question before you can read anyone else's question. Now, it doesn't matter so much in that opening one, but it does for some of the content ones that I'm going to ask. I would like their opinion, not their opinion of what someone else already knows. So it's like in class when you ask a question, first person that you ask answers it, and everybody else keys in on that. In the discussion online, we don't have that. We aren't able to sit back and do nothing and listen to everybody else's answer. We have to come up with one ourselves. So it really makes it equal across the course, and everybody has to think and answer. You don't have to grade, but if you do grade, you'll enter your value here. Now for my discussions, usually it's 3 posts. Show participants need grading after 3 posts. They have to do their own post, and then they have to comment on 2 other. And you have to tell them what a comment is. It's an expansion of what they said. Oh, I like your point. I also found this to support it in this article, or I don't agree with you. I think it should be this, and why they should, if you want formal language, put formal language in there. This is an assignment. This is conveying information. This isn't a text on your phone. Make them aware of that. Here's where you'd put a due date if you want. Add your rubric. Tons of rubrics out there on session forums. You can choose someone else's out there, or you can create your own. Look at what's out there if you have an idea of how to create a form. Okay. When you choose participants must create their own, some things are crossed out. We can't be anonymous if we need to keep track of their first post. Okay. If you want students to be able to subscribe to a form, if you want them to be able to include, these are defaults. I don't care if they subscribe. It just means they'll get more notifications and stuff. It's okay with me. Allow file attachments. Now this one I seriously think about. Sometimes I don't want to open one thing. Type in the box, right? Don't type in Word and add another attachment. So I uncheck this one a lot because I don't want one more thing to download and open. All right. So I make them, if you want to type in Word first, check your spelling and everything, just copy and paste it in the right submission box. If you want to moderate them for the first post, so you're reading what they post first and make sure netiquette is out there, you want to really stress at the beginning what you expect from them. This is a classroom project. It's formal. If you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. That's what my mother used to say. You want to encourage them to encourage each other. You want it to be a positive place where they feel non-threatened, by what they're going to put out there. So sometimes the first one I will moderate and I will comment to different users if it's inappropriate. There's lots of netiquette sites out there. I have one of my favorite ones that when I was in a classroom, I used to post this one. I think this is it. Yeah. Let's see if I can throw that in there. So this shows up as a really nice post, and it gives them some, take a look at it. And it's important for you to convey what you're getting from students. So don't hesitate to throw some etiquette research on one of your links and make them understand what's appropriate for this and what's not. So once you decide, then you submit it. It becomes a gradable item. When you create it, it automatically creates that column in the grade book if it's gradable. So keep that in mind. It will create the columns. Anything that's gradable creates its own column in the grade center. Next, we have multiple attempts. You can stagger feedback. You don't have to answer everybody's. You can answer some. I keep a little spreadsheet that making sure I comment to different people on different ones so that the same ones don't always get everything. All right, let's take a look at grading assignments and discussions. I'm going to go to my grade center. And I only have one person. Oh, they're all showing now. Okay. So let's take a look down here. Just make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay, we've got discussion boards covered. All right. So I'm going to go through this test real quick so I can look at all of the things that are up here graded. When you want to create a test, again, it's going to be in your tools here. Test surveys and pools. Now there's a lot of information about tests, surveys, and pools. If you're bringing in a large amount of questions from a textbook like with ExamView, you can bring them all into a pool. So ExamView, and many of the textbooks have different test generators. Most of them at this point will allow you to export into Blackboard format, which means then I can pull it in. So here's one from a biology book, all right? So I'm going to import a pool, and I'll get it from my computer. I downloaded it as a sample. Test up. Okay, let's see. Assessments. All right, when you export from a test generator, it's a zip file. All right, so don't try to open it, just bring it in. It's going to bring it in, and it will tell you there's only 90 questions, not 95. My bad. And it will tell you it brought it in. Okay. Now what happens is it has 94 questions, and you can go in and edit anything. So if you bring a package in from a textbook, you want to make sure you read the questions at least once. Forever you're going to typing error, you're going to find a question that just doesn't sound right. You can change anything you want in these, right? Make it your own, and then you can use it, right? So I'm going to go into tests. Back to test surveys and pools. I can create a test, a survey, or like I had that pool. And if you're typing questions in, you can type them all into the pool if you want, and then make your test afterwards, or you can type them into tests. Right? When you reuse questions, you can pull them from anywhere. Okay. Surveys, again, are opinions. They're not like you get it right or wrong, because your favorite color is green and mine is blue. It doesn't make one of us right or wrong. So survey, usually I give the students 10 points for doing the survey, period. You just attempt, hand it in and you get it, because I do 2 surveys a course. All right, let's take a look at tests. Right. When we build a test, we give it a name, a description, and instructions. Okay. Maybe you're taking questions from chapters 1, 2, and 3. Instructions. Please read every question carefully before answering it. You put instructions in here. Blah, blah, blah. Right? Let me submit. Now we're in the test canvas where we can create questions from scratch, reuse questions, or upload questions. Right? In terms of question types, there's quite a few different kinds of questions. I'll do one, and then you'll see the process, all right? Maybe a hotspot, because those are fun. Real important is up here. If you are worried about the format, when you say more help, it will create a question for you here and walk you through everything you have to do, right? I am going to walk through one with you. I'm going to cancel for a minute. When you're looking at the test, you have these create a question, reuse a question, upload questions, and question settings. This one over here doesn't get enough attention. Before I creating questions, I usually go over here and make sure everything's checked. Do you want to provide feedback? Yes, no, whatever. Now this is on every individual question or answer. For my advanced courses, I usually, and if you chose A, I would say why that's not correct. B, I would say why that's not correct. C, why it is correct, and D, why it's not. Those type of things. If I don't check there, I have, if you got it right, good job, you know, whatever. If you got it wrong, I would explain the answer. So, and that's more generic than every one. With my advanced classes, the answers are closer together to make them think. But so maybe not there. But these I always check if I want to use images in the answers or in the questions. I want to make sure I have that option. Do you want to use metadata? Now, if you want to sort those questions later and pull out some multiple choice on equations, then you would use that. A lot of teachers like keywords, and then they can, you know, use the terminology in the chapter to highlight those different questions and pull them into another review. What here, when you're scoring, what is the most often score you're going to use in these? So maybe it's 5 points, you know, maybe it's 10 points, you know. Use the one that's going to be the most often used, and then you only have to change the others. Do you want partial credits? Do you want to allow negative credit? Now, I thought that was really strange. Negative, it's bad enough you get a 0. But nursing programs, you know, if you choose the answer that kills them, you get a negative value. Maybe nothing for the one that doesn't do anything, and, you know, full credit for the one that makes them better. So, okay. You can also provide extra credit. I leave that option open. I don't normally do extra credit, but if I find that almost everyone got a question wrong, I'm not going to penalize them. I'll give an extra credit as an extra credit for the few that got it right. I will reteach it and put that question on the next test. But I don't want to penalize them because for some reason I didn't cover that well. Do you want to randomize the order of the answers? Specify horizontal or vertical answers? Specify number options for answers. So if I have those checked, I can change anything I want. Now I go in and pull in my questions. Right? I said I'd do a hotspot, I think. All right, so again, if you need to walk, and that's what I did when I went Blackboard. I went through each one of these, chose their question, and walked through the format. Once you get it, you get it. Okay, so we'll do the heart, because I grabbed some pictures of the heart earlier. Say click on the superior vena cava. Right. Now it is a hotspot, so it's recognizing that it needs an image. I'll upload it. And the first one is just going to be an image of a heart. Let's go back. Hearts unlabeled. Hearts, labeled heart, unlabeled. I'll choose that one. Now it's going to bring in the heart. I'll go to next. Now, in that heart, here's the heart. What do they need to click on? They need to click on this area right here. So I can select and drag. If I go too far, I can clear it and try it again. All right, so I have this section. I'm going to make this bigger for you. There we go. So that's, if they click anywhere inside of that, it's going to, okay, so the correct answer, I will say, great job. And that's it. On the incorrect answer, I'm going to put a picture of the heart labeled. If I did not check, use those images, notice there's not an image up here anymore, I wouldn't have this, and you couldn't choose an image as the answer. So on the incorrect answer, I'm going to use this labeled heart. So it's got all the labels in it. I can use it for any of those questions. So it's going to bring that in. And I want to just not link it. So here I'm going to say display the image. And if I want, here's where I could put in keywords. Add heart. And so I could search for heart and it would come up with this question if I wanted to. So that's what it looks like. That's the correct answer. So if I clicked here, they get it wrong anywhere else. It's just a nice one. It's kind of fun. Right? Lots of different question types. If I can, I made it too big so I can't see the list. All right. The only ones that you have to grade by hand, essay, file response, and short answer. The rest will grade by themselves. So give it a try. Okay? Just go in and practice, try each one, and you can do them more help, and it'll give you a sample. And now let's look at the grade book and how these things are going to be graded. I'm going to close my tools and take a quick look through the grade book. There's a lot of stuff in the grade book, right? When you click on Grade Center, you have needs graded, full grade center, assignments, and tests. These are what we call shortcuts. Let's go to, what am I in? Let's go to the, oh, it does. This is the Introduction to Astronomy, so it has stuff. So if I click needs grading, oh, I get full grade center. Let me go back. Now we can start with full grade center. Now here in the lower right, you have icon legend that explains the different types of symbols that you will see automatically. This one here means needs grading. This blue one means they've saved it as an attempt. Sometimes when I see a bunch of those and I know the assignments due, I'll say, don't forget to check, I'll send out an announcement. Check your submissions. I see a lot in progress. Make sure you submit it for me to grade. All right. The other option, needs attention, allows you to see what needs to be graded. And again, it can be sorted on any of these. So sometimes I just do categories and sort by categories rather than date submitted. So all the assignments are together, right? All the blogs, the discussions, we have 3 pages. When you go to grade something, right? So let's say I'm going to go to the Unit 1 or Unit 2, I guess it is. Unit 2 quiz. Where's quizzes? Oh, here, Unit 1 quiz. When I select it, It'll say grade all 11 users, grade users without their names, grade by question, few attempts. Now, if you do grade users, the whole test comes up. Suppose there's 75 questions. You only have to grade one. Okay, the essay, the short answer, or the file attachment. I like to do that by question. So when I select it, I see I don't have to grade the multiple choice. The only one I'm going to have to grade is the essay. All right. So I have 11 of them. I click here, and the 11 essays show up, and I can grade them, which makes it nice. If two of them look really similar, I may question them, but I can go right through these and grade these answers. So when you go to grade something, let's see, the moon is where do you start? Okay. You also see the question up here. So if you wanted to look at the question, you would select this. The question would show up. And I usually put what I'm expecting them to get, so I have a sample of what the right answer would look like. And then I can go down, look at each one, read it, put their grade in it, comment in here. You know, whatever you want to put in there. Save it and go to the next one. Now, if they got partial credit, it's a percent sign. Full credit, it's a green check. And if it's a low one, it's a red something. So you get different icons. Once you're finished grading, you can go back to your questions after your grade center. Now, once in the grade center, let's go down a little bit. In the grade center here, where we saw the needs grading, that's where we checked. Full grade center, and we see everything. Assignments, if you want to look at just that category assignments, we would go to assignments, and it would only show the columns that are tagged as assignments. When you roll over any of these, you're going to look at that grade information bar, and it gives you a full description. Okay, so Unit 1, moon viewing 12, possible 12 points. It's an assignment. That's the name. 6 out of 14 students have submitted, and 6 need grading. So you can find lots of information about just rolling over them. And because I clicked on the assignment, what we call a smart view, I only get to see assignments. If I click on tests, only see column tests. Favorite part of the Grade Center is going to be this manage area. Go back up again. Right. So in the manage area, I can look at grading periods. So I can have first 9 weeks, second 9 weeks. I can look at the grade schema. If it's different for every class, I can go in here and create the grade schema for this class. So I can go in here and edit it and decide maybe I just have ABCs and I got to get rid of the plus and minuses and then redo the averages. Or maybe I just want pass fail. I can delete everything I don't want and just put in columns that I want. You have full control over this for your course. If the university has a standard, then you would start with that standard and use that. I like color coding. An option for color coding, and I did this with the last group, so let me just delete this real fast. You get some, and you'd have to check this or uncheck it, if you don't want to see the colors. We have an in progress, that blue clock, so I don't need a color. We have needs grading, the gold with the exclamation, and exempt, we have the slash lines. But I may want to look at all the grades that are falling below 75%. Those are what I call my close to failing. So I'm going to put a yellow background for them, and I'll apply it. And maybe I like to look at anything that's greater than a 93 or 95, because I might want to find something else, some alternatives. So greater than to I'll put in 93. That's usually where my turn. And I'll make that a light blue. Find one. There we go. Right, now, with this checked, I can take a look at my grade center in an overview, and it's very visual to see how students are doing. If I have a row that's lots of yellow, I know the student is in trouble, right? And I can even do one lower than 60 in red and have it really stand out. If I have a column that's in yellow, maybe it's a hard assignment. I need to see what's going on and maybe give them another attempt on it. If it's blue, then I know they're doing really well on that assignment. Or if it's a row, it's a student. So you can take a look at how the grades are being affected in the whole class. Okay, where's my... Okay, let me put full grade center because I'm still in just my assignments, or tests rather. It'll look different with all of the things showing. I was still in my test view. So you can see as things go through. All right. The other thing, categories, if, we have the standard categories, but maybe you want a category for lab, you can add a lab category. I do tests and quizzes, so I added a quiz last time. But if you're a teacher that has labs, then maybe it's a separate category. When you make the assignment up, you can tag it as a lab. So you can have anything you want. And notice it will anything that's in that category out here and show you which columns in your grade center. So I could change one of these and pull it into the lab. And you do that by managing them. Okay, again, manage and column organization. So here I can decide what's going to show. Right now, it's typical that this would be up here, and probably that's it. But if you don't want your first name frozen, I don't really need the first name frozen. I can move it down here and keep just my last name. And I really like to see last access. I don't need the others. These are required fields, but you don't have to see them, right? So if you change anything, you can save it. You can rearrange how you want the grade book by moving these things around. Suppose you want everything for Unit 1 together. You move the Unit 1 assignment and the Unit 1 discussion and move them around and submit. So when you keep something frozen, it's the only thing that's not going to move as you move. And I just did the last name. Notice the first name's there. But as I move to just move one to the right, I'm losing those. I like the last access there because I want to know if they were on yesterday. If they weren't on yesterday, then today I don't have anything to grade, So it makes it easy for me when somebody calls. I said, wait a minute, you haven't been on in 3 days. What's going on? The reports, you can create reports with any fields that you want to pull in. So give it a shot. There are some standard reports in your evaluation section, but you can create your own progress reports here. This is a really powerful area. I can just show one row if I want. I wanted to pull somebody up or have a conference call with them, then I would get ready. So I'm going to talk to Ashby Cooper. So row visibility. Okay, I'm going to select them all, but Ashby Cooper, and I'm going to hide them. So now I can get on a call with Ashby, and all that will show is Ashby's work and what she has and has handed in, and I don't have to worry about her seeing anybody else. And then I can pull them all back in. Whoops, that was a smart view. That's not what I wanted. Row visibility. I can do a show off. I can select them all and show rows. Now back to my full grade center. You can create your own smart views. So if you want to look at journal entries, if that's something you can create, any category you can add to this list here. So if I did journals, I could add that to a smart view. Where's smart views here? Notice it gives you all the categories that are standard, and as you add them, you can add them here. So maybe I want journals. So I want to make this star show. So now I have journals added over here. And I could, under grade center, come on. I would click on journals. So it's just going to add it to that indented list. You can add a row, or you can add, a column, and you can add a calculated column. So if you are on the second 9 weeks and you want to get an average column, you can create it with just the things from the second 9 weeks. All right. Almost everything you go into, you're going to have that more help. Make reference to it. You also have that help down here, the Blackboard help for instructors. And you can pick a topic, just, kind of rotate through them, the ones that you want to use. So, give it a shot. All right, I'm going to turn on chat if I can get it to work. Unless I couldn't. For the last few minutes, if you have here, session settings, post chat messages. Okay, so if you have anything you want to ask, or a chat question, or anything you want to say, go ahead, feel free to put it in the chat. We covered a lot of material in 3 hours. It just goes by for a flash for me because I'm talking all the time, but I really appreciate your attention, and I really think this is going to be good for you. It's an awesome piece of software, and it really does help you organize. Questions? Anybody have a question? You can click on the chat, the lower right-hand corner, the tab, pull it out, and then there's the chat bubble. Is it not working? Let's see, let me look. It says post chat messages. Okay. You're very welcome. Any questions? All right. Good luck. For exams, I think of 2 different things you can do with your exams. You can set the time on the test, which really prohibits them from doing much. I always create my tests as they're going to be open book and watch the time limit. So they could look up one question, but they probably couldn't look up more than that and still have time to finish the test. So timing is really important for me. The type of questions I ask students is more think about what you saw and then how you can use it in this instance. So when you're looking at cheating, where there's a will, there's a way. But I remember our teachers used to say, okay, you can write anything you want on a 3x5 card. By the time you wrote that 3x5 card 15 times, you knew everything that was on it anyways. And they always laughed at us, but it works. Yes, there's so much in Blackboard. It's going to take a while to feel comfortable, but remember, it's a process. And after you get the course created, every year it gets better and better because you can tweak it. Yes, it would be nice to have a smaller session with more detail on one thing, but we were asked to do these 3-hour things, and they gave us all the topics we had to cover. So we got a lot covered. Again, you can watch it slowly and practice as you go, or you can go in and look at the help area and pick some topic that you want to get better at, adding content, tests, quizzes, assignments, discussions. And as you go into help.blackboard.com, you should be able to go in as an instructor and just pick a topic you want to learn a little bit more on. There's also videos for instructors, which are super. So you can use that link to instructor videos. Let me give you that link. Let's see, I might have myself. This one, yeah. Let me just give you a couple of links that are real helpful from my course. I'm just searching for courses on here that are mine. That would probably get it easier. Chronological. Here we go. Nope, that's not the right one. Strong chronological templates. Education. Listen. Course ID template. So I use, okay, it's not the bottom. Instructor videos. So that's, I think, wrong one. Let me just check. I think that's for Ultra, and you have original videos. Playlist, yep. Just see. Look, yeah. Yep, this is the one. These are all the videos. Teachers, I'm going to plug it in here on this chat, so you can actually click on that now if you want. There's a great list of videos. So I usually just click on the full list here for videos. You want original classes, not ultra classes, because you're using the original version. And all of these are very, most of them 2-3 minutes, and it's on different parts of the course that you want to control. Very short, very concise, not real fancy, but great videos for teachers. I noticed you had a link for student videos in the course, but this is for teachers. Okay, let me just scan and see if there's any questions. Now the recordings that we're going to send out, I send to, I don't know, one of the guys, and they make sure they're posted on a site for you guys. So they will both of them will be there. Again, they say theirs is 3 hours. I make mine an hour and a half each, so they're not so bad. There'll be a video 1 and video 2. That's all. You're very, very welcome, people, and good luck. I'm hoping you enjoy the after the initial shock of how creating your courses and stuff. It becomes a lot more fun. I will stay safe. You too. I haven't traveled since February. I really miss it because I'm normally on the road, but I'm getting used to being home. I've got my garden started again. Okay, I'm going to stop recording and stop sharing. Thank you so much. Good luck.